Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I'd like to call the Property Management Committee to order. First, we approve of the minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second that the minutes be approved.
Turn your cell phones off.
Any discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. First order of business tonight on the agenda is update on Midland Fosterville Fire Department building.
Okay, this is just an update on that construction project. It's really going much faster than we anticipated, you might say, which is good. But as of the last pay request on January the 10th, it's 64% completed, and probably even more than that right now. I was told today that all the drywall's up, so they're inside finishing drywall, and it's completely dried in. All the doors are on the building, even I think the big doors are up. So that's coming good. They'll probably finish that on or before March the 31st.
Any questions of the mayor on it?
Is that gonna come in budget or under budget, or do we have any figures yet on that? Or?
Right now, the only change order looks like so far is about $1,200 more. So there may be another one or two like that, but that's the only one I'm aware of today.
So it looked like we would come in under
We'll come in
budget.
very close, yes.
With the while you're talking about the fire departments, what about the building that burned on Elam Road,
We're taking bids on that the 29th.
the 29th of
January.
January.
At the same time, we take bids on the sheriff's 964 Salem Highway, that renovation.
Any more questions? Okay. Next update on county-owned properties.
What you have there is something like you got last year. This is simply a list of all the county-owned properties, not counting the school properties, even though in this little list there are a few school properties. But this is just county general properties. Mr. McAdoo wanted y'all to have this for your information. And I've made a few notes, as you can see through there, because I'm sure some of you will say, well, what is that? I even have to ask myself, what is that property? Because it's not described in enough detail for you to know sometimes what is there. But anyway, you can take that, and if it's a little bit hard for you to read and you don't have a hard copy, I'll have Vicki make a hard copy, put it in your box so that you can take that and carefully look at it and decide if you have questions about any of that. We can try to address those.
Any questions on the list of county properties?
Does this list any of the ones, don't we have some out in Smyrna, different places? I know we have some in Laverne.
We have scattered about. We have a number of properties that we've acquired through the process of this flood mitigation. You'll see a number of those flood remediation, and they're scattered all about. I don't know if there's any in Laverne or not. There are a few other properties that we've acquired through delinquent property purchase, and when they sell and somebody else doesn't buy them, we get the ownership of them. There are a few of those. I know there's one that just occurred this year in Laverne, and so that's.
And we got that property over there by the middle school in Laverne.
Well, some of that's the school property,
Oh, okay.
and that's on this list. And that property over there was one of those properties that the school surplused, said it's okay, it is surplus, but we could find no way to dispose of that property in any kind of way because of the elevation and the way that property surrounded that school. It's not usable by another party, it doesn't appear.
When you give us a hard copy, can you give us where it's located, cities? Some of these are, I don't know where they are.
Well,
I don't know where Fair Oaks is.
that's, Fair Oaks is out in the county. It's not in a city. Well, see, there are only a few of these that are actually in the city, but there are just a few. With some work, we can do that.
So a lot of those schools that were built in Laverne or probably fell under the school boards.
They did after they were built.
Yeah, because there was until about, what, 10, 15 years ago,
Yeah.
when the county commission determined that the property would be under the county commission. So a lot of those probably are under the school board property list.
Yeah, it was about 15 years ago, and they probably are deeded to the school system. But as we want to use it or whatever, the school system always deeded to us, you know, back to us.
It's probably deeded to the school
Yeah.
board is what it is.
It's ours until they build a school, and then we deed it to the school board, isn't it? It's bought in our name.
It's bought in our name.
Yeah, and then
But-
we give it back to, when they build a school on it, we deed it to the school board. Once it ceased to be a school, is my understanding,
You know, Josh.
or education, it comes back to the county.
That is the way it is now. But 10 to 15 years ago,
No.
it wasn't like that.
I know what happened.
I've got one, the old air base, the 19 acres, is that, it says there's still buildings, 306 through 309, are there still buildings there? I thought those were raised at one time. So it's on here.
The old barracks building?
Yeah, it says there's,
Well, where we put our clerk's building is part of what you're talking about. We own that, and that's on here.
yes, sir. It says there's some buildings on here, and that's why I didn't know.
Well, we have that one building on, that's all we have on there.
Okay, well, it says old barracks, 306 through 309. I didn't know if there was actual
I
buildings.
don't know whether there used to be barracks. There's no buildings on that now.
Okay. That's what I was.
They've all been taken
That's what I
down.
was wondering. I didn't think we had any buildings down there other than the clerk's office.
That's all
and
we,
the,
there's nothing else there.
Maybe some of it was in
What
there.
about Wary Housing?
Wary Housing, we do not own Wary Housing.
It was
Not
a
anymore?
That's owned by a,
corporation.
some corporation, that's
Yeah.
right. We're not a party to that at all, and they don't owe us any more money.
Well, I started saying, I think they paid us up.
Yeah. Any more questions? Is any information that you would like the mayor to add to this list? I know Commissioner Cook had mentioned the cities. Anything else anyone would like to add to this list?
Well, when I come back, if it doesn't have a city on it, it just means it's in the unincorporated area.
Okay.
If I'm lucky, I
Next
could
on
find.
the agenda, a proposed new judicial building. I want Miss Laura Boland and is Lisa Nolan here.
Lisa's on vacation.
She's on vacation. I guess the mayor can fill in for her.
Well, with
Something like that.
the mayor we'll have some opening remarks here. That's, some of you are new and some of us are new. Most of us haven't been here through the whole course of this discussion. This discussion has been going on since before 2002. I know the first study, consultant study that was the commission provided and obtained was finalized in 2002. So a number of us weren't even around in the county government then. The second study was completed in 2008. So since the completion of that study, you all are fully aware that we've had school after school that's been built, and we haven't had the capacity to actually fund the construction and the debt service on that construction for that particular project. I mean, I've got all the documentation, I've got the reports from 2002 and 2008. Some of you may have looked at a few of those in 2008, and a few of you were there in 2002 when you saw that. Ms. Cook was, I suppose. She was probably on property
Yeah.
management, and Mr. McAdoo. Anyway, to summarize all that, if we take the last consultant's sort of recommendation, and the PBA was directing and sort of leading that discussion. The last iteration of their sort of proposals and options that would be put in place, the building itself would be in the neighborhood of $50 to $55 million, and the parking garage would be in the neighborhood of $6 million.
And that was back in 2008.
Well, yeah, that's true. Now, there may or may not be inflation on top of that at this point. So we're looking at a $50 to $60 million worth of cost that has to be paid back. We'd have to borrow that money. We're not in a position tonight to even, Lisa sort of knows this is on the agenda, but we haven't had any discussion about our capacity and our ability to borrow another $50 or $60 million along with what the school boards has projected that they need, and see how that's going to affect our debt service funds and our property taxes. Until we get a few more weeks and months into this budget process, we're not going to know what our revenue projections are. In particular, our property tax revenues. Our sales tax revenues don't help county general that much. So we're going to need a lot more data if this project, you desire for us to move it forward. We're going to have a lot of better information before you can really have a serious review of whether it's something we can even think about taking a bite at this go-round. So I've said all that to say this is almost a 200,000 square foot building, and that's going to cost in excess of $50 million plus whatever it takes to build a parking garage to support that all of those activities there. We have the property in hand; it's available. The land.
Now, one of the things that wasn't a Sally Port at the judicial building part of that garage, or
Yes.
some sort of way to let the prisoners go in and stuff.
But the way this is designed, the way this is proposed to be done, we don't have any hard drawings. There would be a secure parking area underneath this in a basement area that you would drive down into and deliver prisoners, and it would be a safe entrance for the judges and other staff members. So I don't know whether you want to call that a Sally Port or not, but they were talking about making access to underneath the building, and you'd go into a restricted elevator, and there would, for prisoners, and a separate elevator for the judges and other people that were coming in. So there is some parking down there, limited parking for those purposes and to deliver those prisoners. That was the plan that came through the last consultant's review.
If the if the committee or whatever commission desires for there to be continued talk or study about this, I think we also, not only the debt, I think we need to be sure and put in there where the operating cost of how much is it going to increase to staff this, because I know there's going to be some kind of staffing level that will, and add that cost in there. We're going to know the whole, and I actually also how to pay for it.
Right.
You know.
It's no question about it. The operating costs just on utilities and housekeeping, all of that's going to increase substantially, because
Security.
the square footage is going to be 3 or 4 times as much as we've currently got.
I know
About 3 times as much.
I know we've had 2 studies done, and my understanding is both of the studies would move all of the courts that are held in the current building into the new building. I was wondering if either one of the studies had explored whether it'd be possible or efficient to keep some of the courts in the current building and build a smaller structure for only a portion of the courts on the new land. I'll just come up with a way to divide it. What if you kept the civil courts in the current building and moved the criminal courts to the new property, but in a smaller building, one that wouldn't require as much square footage and wouldn't cost $50 or $60 million?
Theoretically, that could be possible, but unfortunately, the square footage of the courtroom space that we have right now is statistically too small for even the civil cases that we are, the types of dockets that we're seeing on a consistent basis. So we are already space constrained in the space that we have. Moving a type of court out of the building isn't going to make those cases that we have, like orders of protection dockets and civil case motion days and those kinds of things, that's not going to change those. They're still going to be space constrained. We have one courtroom that's about 2,200 square feet. That's the largest courtroom we have. So that's hit about 100 to 150 people capacity. We have court days that we have upwards of 600-700 people on a docket throughout that entire building. So, and we're looking at a space area in those cases of about 1,200 square feet. So just think of your house and about 600 people and their best friends in there. Moving that a segment of that business out isn't really going to solve the problem. There needs to be some of the things in that study gives us different space alignments that provides more space in the courtroom proper. So even though in the study it talks about 2,400 square foot courtrooms, because they move some of those things outside of the courtroom, meeting rooms, those protected areas, it gives more overall space in that courtroom. So it's...
When you talk about space, it sounds like you mean number of chairs in the courtroom for people to sit.
Mm-hmm.
Could you divide up the dockets?
Well, that's always been an idea that's been posited. That's about 15 years too old as an idea, because when you have, we have a docket next Tuesday that's 180 people. So you have 180 defendants, you have multiple attorneys, you have the witnesses, you have victims. You could split that up into the largest courtroom that we have that would hold about 100 people, but that's still more than just the 90 people that are on that motion docket. It's all of the additional people that go along with that case, that situation. So the concept of having 2 court dockets is that it's not going to save space or create efficiency. We'd have to run 24 hours a day.
I know this is not a popular, it's been talked about for, night court.
I am not a judge. I am the clerk. So
That's why I say it's not popular.
right. Well, I can't even begin to. We would serve at the pleasure of the court. So we would need to be there as well. So when you think about night court, there would need to be clerks there. There would need to be security there. So it becomes, is it cost efficient to do that? I mean, how many more security are we going to need to add to have night court? How many more clerks would we need to have to accommodate paying of the fines and those kinds of things?
Not saying I'm for or against it, whatever. I'm speaking of night court will save them $50 million. You know, I mean, I know there's a need as far as the new building over there, because I know a lot of people in there. I've seen a lot of people in there, too many people in there at one time. But until we get to that process, we've got to come up with some other game plan, look at the big picture, look outside the box, and figure out a way to staff
And that's what
and to hold the court.
And that's what I was trying to explain with regard to the number of people on our dockets. We've missed that window of opportunity to create some kind of efficiency. When you have 180 people on a docket,
We've missed the window of having night court.
we have, we don't have enough room for all of those people as it is. If we'd have to have literally court 24 hours a day, not just a night court. When you have 600 people on a docket, you have 400 people on a docket, you have 4 or 5 courts going at the same time already. We have thousands of people coming through that building on a regular daily basis.
I know that the judicial district is part of Cannon County and Rutherford County. How many of those people coming from Cannon County? None?
None.
They hold Cannon County court.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I brought
See,
this
you
up.
don't have any public area over there right now. I mean, if we had, they've got something in here labeled a public lobby. These people could
Right.
be assembled somewhere besides standing in the hallway or trying to get in a courtroom if we had some space, which we don't have.
The public lobby is probably where, years ago, where security's at now, probably, I would
Yeah.
assume.
The security's doesn't have any space here
Right.
right now.
Right, right, and that's one of the really big concerns, is that all people involved in a case go through the same space. You've got inmates coming in, you've got security needing to focus on that, but then you've got individuals milling around, you've got families, you've got victims, you've got people that don't like each other, all in a very small, tight little space. It's not happy some days.
But
So-
back to Mr. Baum's question, there was one scenario crafted that they did leave the chancellor's courts and the clerk and master in this existing building. That is one of the 6 or 7 scenarios. That is, and that's the only group that they did live. They leave. They do have more of a separate presence, I guess you could say, than the other courts do. And they have basically their own staff up there for their clerks and
Right.
et cetera.
I can see how if we didn't build any new structure, night court might come into play, but if you built a structure that's half the size of what's being proposed and moved a portion of the courts over to the new site, I guess I don't understand why leaving the remainder in the current building wouldn't allow you to take the dockets and divide them to a level where the people could fit into the courtroom.
Okay, all that may be true. We've spent well in excess of $250,000 on 2 studies together when you look at those. And we didn't come to that conclusion, except for what I just told you. In this last one, it did have the Chancery Court still staying over here.
Well, I
So
brought-
anyway, that can always be revisited, but it didn't seem to be a practical thing from the standpoint of the clerk. You know, you'd have to separate her staff members and blah, 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 and the
Well,
security would have to have 2 full sets of it, et cetera. So operationally, they determined at that point that they thought it would be a better fit to move the whole
Sure.
thing and be done with it.
And I don't want to complicate things, I just was wondering if the 2 prior studies, the one from '02 or from '08, addressed this issue in any way other than to say we can't split up dockets or we don't want to split up dockets.
Well,
Well, and I don't think anyone
no.
said that at all.
We-
I think
we-
we've just missed that window of opportunity with the regular volume that we have. Because we have, of course, we have those large dockets, and then you have trials as well that are going on at the same time.
Where I was coming from on the night court deal was until we get a new building in place, I was thinking that they could hold night court over there to weed out a lot of the overcrowding in the courtrooms and kind of split up some of those people.
Well,
And I know that's not your decision, that's the judge's decision.
we've mitigated the problem, you know, substantially over the last few years. We moved the juvenile judge out of that
Right.
building to the juvenile center, and that freed up a courtroom and took a lot of people out of there. You can go out to the juvenile center and you can see how many cars are parked out there every day. So we made some real progress there. That was a big thing.
And I know that the judges, you met with the judges at one time because of the overcrowding over there, and there was a
But
consensus
general
there.
sessions, they worked together to reschedule some of these dockets and things.
And so we do have multiple dockets
So
every day.
We do have multiple dockets, and that, instead of all of them showing up at 8 o'clock, I mean, they've
They're
got.
staggered.
They're
Staggered.
staggered, so we've
Yeah.
already done that, so we've made some real progress there. And lastly, that coin building, as we call it, that became available when we moved youth services out to the new juvenile services center. When that happened, that made it possible for the DA and the public defender to have some office space back there, and those people that they were meeting with prior to going into court or into these docket calls.
Instead of meeting in the hallway.
Instead of meeting in the halls, they're meeting back there. So we've done at least those three things that have made some substantial improvements in the traffic volume inside that building. So we've managed through it, and it's somewhat workable right now, but at some point this will have to be addressed.
Well, I brought this up to Commissioner McAdoo to get it on the agenda, and we toured that building, was it last year or the year
Yes,
before?
last year.
And of course, the Murfreesboro Bank and Trust side, it's in disrepair. I mean, it needs to be raised last week. And I don't know if there's issues of employees still getting sick over there. The ventilation system, I know y'all done a lot of work on it to make it better. And then you look at the school board situation and the 132 million they're gonna build in the next 5 years. So if we don't look at this seriously, and it's not a popular decision, we're gonna kick the can down the road again. And it's liable to cost $80 million 5 years from now. Money will never be cheaper than it is today. It's never gonna be cheaper. The interest rate's gonna go up. What is it, 3%? Building construction costs are not gonna go down. They're gonna go up with inflation. So by not looking at building this building with some serious consideration, even though it's very unpopular, we're going to be doing the citizens an injustice 5 years from now by kicking the can down the road. And that's just my opinion of it. Again, it's not popular, but we really need to take a serious look at it.
In the next 5 years, we're looking at 5,200 plus students coming in. What percent of those 5,200, which would be 5 schools, 5 plus schools, what percent would be in court? I'm looking at percentage. You know, if we've got a percentage of income people coming into the county, what percentage of the increase of the population will be in court?
Well, that's not a question that we have
You
off the top of our head.
You don't have that.
You figure that out.
But you see what I'm saying here. We are not growing with our buildings for justice like our crime is growing.
No, we definitely aren't.
And our city, our county has doubled in the last 20 years. So we keep putting this off, we're going to have another county.
Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell you guys, we're gonna take the school board's request and we're gonna put that in a time frame, and we're gonna tell you how many dollars it's gonna take to support that debt service wise, how many more pennies it's gonna take on the property tax.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want us to tell you. And then you can decide.
Then if 11 people up here vote to pay for it, we'll build a judicial building.
I mean, it's just that, you know, that sounds simplistic, but at some point you have to actually compute that. And the school's requests are less now than they have been in a number of years. They're not asking for the bigger money until several years out. And all of that is to be determined on whether these school enrollment numbers actually occur. They haven't occurred yet.
I'm pretty sure they have, but I'm sure Murfreesboro City Schools and Rutherford County Schools have talked about this, but I do know Murfreesboro is planning on building an elementary school, a K-6 elementary school on the west side of the city, starting this year. They're going to break ground this year on that, and I know Blackman Elementary is one of the biggest overcrowding schools, and that was one thing that last year when the mayor had even mentioned the idea of this building, he said there's that window, and we don't know what the school systems are going to need, but this was the window, and that's why, again, I just wanted to make everybody aware and really look at this, and if there's a way to do it, if there's a way to save money, like Commissioner Baum said, and there was a proposal for 7 stories or for 6 stories or finish them in. There's a bunch of different things in there that. Yeah. And that's what the full commission needs to realize is there's options there that aren't just no.
Well, both of the studies had growth capacity in the actual plan, so that there would be growth throughout 2035, I think.
20 is enough capacity here, and
yeah.
The last scenario goes past that.
Right.
But you're going to shell in an extra
right.
floor in both scenarios, but you'll get to at least 2035 with the projected growth in the number of people that are going to come through the system. We already know how many is coming through, and they've already projected all of that forward.
Well, like Mayor Burgess spoke of earlier, why don't we just let Mayor Burgess him put together a team that he wants to put together, whether it be some judges, clerk's office, or whoever, and devise a plan of what it's gonna look like through the school board, through the judicial building, through operating costs, and then bring it back to the county commission. And if 11 commissioners vote for that plan,
Well, we don't really need the judges right now. I think we're gonna have to go with the model we have, or else it'll take us another year to
Right.
create the model. Go with the model we got. It may not be the final model, but insert that model and that the cost into the middle of the other capital needs that we have, and add to it the operating costs that we project that will increase. And Lisa and I and Laura and a few of the rest of us that are staff members, you might say, we can give those numbers and project those numbers and how it affects our debt service and how many pennies it's going to take to support this new building and the new buildings of the schools, and then we'll have the big picture. We have to have more information. We're not really have enough information to make a good decision yet. We're 2 or 3 months away from that.
we all understand there's a need out there, but getting to that point of how we're gonna pay for it and come up with a big picture, we don't have that right now.
I got a question, Ms. Boland, and this was asked of me. Well, wonder if we move criminal out by the jail, build a judicial building out there just for criminal. And the person that asked that question brought up about transportation costs from the sheriff department, security, and things like that.
Well, I certainly can't speak to the security constraints. I thought I saw the sheriff here, but I can't obviously speak to that. As a clerk's office, we can be amenable to whatever is decided. We can split our business we've already split off juvenile court clerks are out in juvenile. So if there was a desire to do that criminal justice facility, but then that's a doubling of your staff. And
Here's the thing on that. It wasn't me. I know it wasn't Commissioner Gooch, but some commissioners up here voted and took a man's property away from him up here, and that's where it needs. I mean, if we build a judicial building, that's where it needs to go. We done went condemned a man's property.
Well, don't look at me. I didn't vote for it.
Well, here's the thing with the sheriff's department is if there's ever another tower and you put a court out there, are you going to build a 12-story parking garage to go next to it? Because there's not. I mean, he's pretty much landlocked unless we purchase adjacent property to the
And I
sheriff's
can't really
department.
imagine the security challenges that would ensue from actually having the criminal court there with all the people that come to the criminal court. I mean, there's layers of issues that go along with that.
There's not enough parking out there to even, unless we build a garage to even think about that.
Yeah.
Garage out there.
You're talking about kicking the can. What's kicking the can from off the road?
Right, right.
Right on
You'd have to look
that.
you'd have to look at the property around the jail if you
Yeah.
wanted to do that, you know. And I'll get my little 2 cents worth in here and I'll be quiet again, but I've talked to several of y'all privately. Hamilton County, I'll pay to take us down there through my budget somehow, but we need to look at their facility. Their facility, the way that they did it 20-something years ago, it works very well.
It has the underground parking.
It has underground parking, it has
the
the courtroom,
secure-
back to the, back hallways, in and out of the courtroom, the security's laid out right, and they did this over 20-something years ago. And the
There's-
building looks brand new.
Right,
Also
and-
Montgomery County, I think.
I haven't been up to Montgomery.
We went to
Yeah, they
Metro.
went-
We went to Metro and saw theirs right
Mhm.
after they opened.
But the thing is, we done spent $250,000 on studies.
We don't need more studies.
And then if we do another study, we're gonna be another year or two down the road.
And
And
neither
the
one of those
plan-
studies, I mean, they had these discussions that Mr. McAdoo is referring to, but it has not come to any consensus that was what they thought was the best thing to do in the total scheme of things.
Right.
Well, and the adjacent property at the ESO is floodplain, so
Yeah.
I mean you're going to expand on if you've ever driven down Malloy Lane after a rain.
Yeah.
We've had to rescue people out of houses over there, so.
And the plan actually does exactly what this plan does exactly what Hamilton County has. It has those secure areas. It has the staff and the judicial staff separated from the public. It has all of those already built in. So those kinds of securities. And then as we look more towards technology, I know you're upgrading video capability at the jail, and as more options become available within state code, the idea of having to transport people is going to be limited by our ability to do more through video than we can currently do by code. So there's going to be a lot of efficiencies created with that I think putting it over at the jail would create more problems than it would benefit us.
But just to defend Commissioner McAdoo, I've had several people mention the same idea to me, moving criminal court over to the sheriff's property. And I'm not necessarily suggesting we do that, but I do think it'd be nice to know if we knew what the rationale was for why we didn't want to do that. Now, I've heard a few reasons mentioned, maybe a lack of land or a lack of parking. But the property we've purchased north of the square doesn't seem to me like it's any bigger than some of the land on the sheriff's complex. And if parking's going to be under the building on the property north of the square.
But only parking under the building is for security purposes. It's just to deliver those inmates and for the judges to have a secure entrance.
We've got 2 courtrooms in our jail expansion that got knocked off the table a while back. It has 2 courtrooms built into the new facility. With other expansions around there, so there would be courtrooms out there. And you know, we're currently General Sessions is coming out there in the morning. 2 hours is it? Or is it 2 hours every morning? And right now they're working in the old IDR, the indoor rec for the inmates. We've painted it, tried to make it as nice of a courtroom as it could be. They hold GED classes right beside the courtroom in there. So, you know, but the plan does have 2.
You got a little stage and a podium too.
Yeah.
Back when this came about, even Sheriff Jones at the time wanted it out there by the jail. But there was talk about the future as far as having to build another part of the jail. There was some land issues out there as far as flooding. There was land issues as far as the footprint of being able to put all this out there at the jail. And there was discussions with the Bar Association about being downtown, and it ultimately where we went to was the area downtown, and that's when the property here got condemned, and this is where we're at today.
So, Sheriff, you would be opposed to moving these criminal courts over to your property for these reasons?
I think the way that this plan has all been laid out, I don't think that it's feasible right now to. I mean, naturally, I'd love to have it out there, but the way that this land is all that set up, we don't have the land out there. The county's going to have to spend a whole lot more than $60 million to build it out there, because you got to look. If you wanted to build it out there, I guess, and I'm just there's land out there, but it's trailer courts and other things, so you're going to have to buy that up, and that's going to cost a lot.
And build it up because of floodplain.
Yeah, and build it up because of floodplain. Plus, the other thing is, well, yeah.
And the other thing is, we're gonna have to reserve what land we do have for another tower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some point down the
Gotta
road.
be done. Any more discussion on the proposed new judicial building? I think the mayor have an excellent idea to put the package together and bring it back to us so we can see how it fits in with our debt service per se, with the school, $132 million.
Do we have any other building projects other than the schools, looking out into the near future, other than this right here, that would be an issue of keeping this from happening? Or is there any other things that's out there that we don't know about, or not on our fresh on our minds right now that you might be thinking of?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that's material like this.
To kind of answer your question, my recollection is in year 1 of the school's 5-year plan is $125,000 for to renovate football stadiums for disabled students.
Right.
So, I mean, just to answer your question, it was $125,000.
That's included in there.
Yeah, but that's
that
the
was
schools.
That was year 1.
Yeah, I didn't know about building
See,
like
of course, they have $2.3 million available every year for those kinds of building maintenance out of we're set aside that much just for those kinds of purposes in the property tax collections.
Well, according to Mr. Todd, we got the money in the bank. I mean, it's sitting right there.
Rainy day fund.
Hey, it's there, so.
You believe me,
We got-
I got some swamp land sitting.
Well, the figure, it's
We
in the
already bought
bank,
that
it's in
one.
CDs, there's 60, well, there's more than $60 million there, but
Right.
you don't wanna rob your savings account when you.
Okay, if there's not any more discussion on it, I think it's an excellent idea for the mayor to put that together and get us a copy of it or whatever, and we'll discuss that at that time. Anybody else got any questions on the judicial building while we got the two experts up here?
Y'all are the experts.
Right.
Mm.
Okay, well, thank you.
The sheriff could easily stay up here just a minute longer.
Oh,
You're in trouble now. Thank you, Laura.
While he's in here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
mm,
We'll let you go ahead first.
okay.
This is not under agenda, but under other business.
Well,
while
I'm
he's
getting
in-
ready to
while he's
ask
in here.
I'm getting ready to ask for any other business.
Okay, so one thing we want to mention, this is just sort of I don't think you guys have to actually officially do anything, but you've heard all the discussion over the last several months now about heat exchangers and boilers, and now you can start talking about chillers. One of our chillers is down out there. I mean, we've got, and it's the cost of putting that back in operating condition is probably we can buy a new one for that price almost. Here's what we're gonna do, what we're gonna recommend. And we're gonna, public safety Monday night, for which the sheriff won't be there, but at the public safety meeting, Lisa, I'm gonna have her have some sort of amendment available. And Commissioner Baum will have an opportunity then to see if we pick the right place for the source of money. We have spent all of the building improvement money for all practical purposes. He still has some building improvement money, but he needs to use that for ongoing purposes. We've spent all of the building maintenance budget and then some. We took bids for these chillers back some months ago. And those bids to replace 2 chillers is $268,000. And the bids were good through December the 31st. We haven't taken any action on those bids. They've extended those bids. The low bid is still good until May the 1st, I believe it was, something like that. But in any event, there's really not much choice except for us to move on. And I'm going to recommend to public safety, and we'll have the proper amendment and they can decide where the money should really come from. But we've got to do this, and we need to do this now and get these things taken care of before hot weather starts here. So if public safety approves this amendment on the 29th, which is purchasing, I'm going to ask the purchasing committee if they will go ahead and approve those bids that we took, and we've not taken any action on, but they're still laying on the table. And then we'll be in a position, if that happens, and then if it goes on to budget, and they approve that, and we'll take it to the commission in February, he can then order, we can issue purchase orders to replace those 2 chillers. It's inevitable, and we're treading in an area of high risk if we don't do this. That's just that's an update.
Mr. Chairman, as Chairman of Public Safety, I'd like to kind of throw out a motion that property management sends the public safety with an endorsement to strongly look at this, because it is very much needed to take care of this situation at the jail.
That's a motion, and we have a
Second.
second. Got a second. Any discussion? Just one point to add, you're exactly right. There's no getting around it. The building is over 20 years old. We got our money worth out of it. I understand that the chillers now are leaking like crazy, and if we don't move on this, we will have a big mess out there. So, any more discussion on this?
I'll say this, I know you kept me updated and when all that was going on, and I appreciate what staff did out there in a situation.
Terrible situation.
Yeah, and it could have been bad. And if you let staff know that the commission tells them we appreciate what they did out there
That's
during that
true.
time.
Thank you.
Any more discussion?
You did something to those chillers, didn't you?
Not the chillers.
Not the chillers. What was
The
it?
boilers.
The
We
boilers.
replaced the boilers because they went out.
Mhm.
Now the chiller's gone out.
Okay.
Any more discussion? If not,
And which-
roll call.
Commissioner Baum,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Farley,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch,
Yes.
Commissioner Young,
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo.
Yes. Okay.
All three of those, the chiller, the boiler, and the hot water heaters have pretty much, they bought their, in 12 months, they'll all be replaced.
We still have two hot water heaters that need to be replaced. By looking at the condition of the other two that we did replace, we know that they're gonna need replacing. But yeah, once we get those done, we've replaced.
And it basically lasts, everything, all the equipment we replaced was original with the building, or?
Yes.
So it's all been,
Yeah.
okay.
Yes.
Well, that's, at least we know the lifespan of what it's gonna run.
20 years.
Hopefully it'll be a little bit more efficient this next time.
Well, one thing, I started calling, and I will be calling some more of y'all, but just throw it out there to think about, is somehow with the board bill money, setting possibly 5% of that board bill money aside, because naturally, the litigation fund goes to pay for the workhouse now. If we set the board bill money aside, just a little bit of it, then maybe for the jail, for maintenance and efforts later on down the road, it's a thought. I'm just trying to think outside the box. That way, we don't have to come hit like we did this. I mean, this past year has been terrible on the jail and fixing things. I mean, I hate it to happen on my watch, but, you know, it's got to get done. So I just throw that out for food for thought. I'll be talking with y'all individually.
Okay. Any more discussion, any more questions, or anything that you need to ask the sheriff while he's here? No, thank you.
I'm going to stay.
On any other business, oh, I'm going to take care of that. We have several people in the audience. We also have a commissioner in the back that represent the Las Casas area, and they have concerns about the convenience center. So I am gonna ask that the committee offer a motion to suspend the rules and listen to Commissioner Jack Black.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Black.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the board. I try to be as short and sweet with y'all as I can, but I've had a delicate issue in my beloved district that's come up. Convenience center. We presently leasing it from Peachtree Landscaping Business. Over the last month, things has passed there on that particular place, and so it's come to the folks' notice out there that they're planning on closing February the 24th. We've been having the community meetings out there and trying to figure out what are we going to do out that way as far as the convenience center. We had a community meeting the other night, and it was discussed different options to us, and as it was presented out there, they said, you know, we could buy some more land. It was buy some more land. Eminent domain was brought up. Leasing some property somewhere until we decide what we're going to do here. And guess the last one that I brought up there was we already own land within that area, which it's probably the last reason why I say that last. It's a community for our kids to play ball. But I asked for some folks to maybe step forward, donate some land. I didn't get no response. So it's a very delicate situation, and with it closing, I think it's going to probably create another problem on down the road in another community of mine.
In your district?
Yes, sir. It's going to cause a burden until we find out what we're going to do here as far as this convenience center. And, it's going to cause I'm positive it's going to cause a traffic concern there at Walter Hill. So it's all happened, like I said, within a month, and it's you know, sometimes desperate measures cause for something to be done in a pretty quick fashion. So
What's your proposal?
I'm just I'm getting around there to it here just a second. I'm just right now, like I said, we've got land within the area. It's the last option, other than negotiating with the owner of the business there. Hopefully come to some kind of reasonable terms for us to buy it. And I guess that's another one there. And then, like I said, lastly, is the land we presently own out there. And I got some copies here. Like I said, I've been this has been real quick come upon us, and I'm just trying to deal with it as I go.
Is the lease running out on the 24th? Is that
January?
February.
February the 24th?
February the 24th. And
Peachtree exercised their options not to renew our lease, from what I understand.
Well, we were in the last year of our lease term, and they have an option within that lease term to give us 60 days notice, and they did.
And we renewed that lease in this committee last year, the year before. I remember that lease coming through, and we kind of knew something. One thing, and I watched the Public Works meeting, Mr. Nolan, the solid waste director, what did he say it would cost if we leave the current location and go anywhere? He said it was going to cost
around $100,000.
$100,000. So in my opinion, just me thinking, if we gave Peachtree anything over $100,000, we'd be losing money. If we went to the free site that was already there. If it's $200,000 and it's going to cost $100,000 to move it.
Where's the free site at?
The county-owned land.
Oh, okay.
The older. I have expressed repeatedly, I think it's unwise for us to go up there on that free land, you might say, and interfere with one of the few recreation programs we have in this county. I just really think we need to support that community in that area there. I think it's, in view of all the money we're talking about throwing around here, the convenience center is extraordinarily important. The recreation for our young people is extraordinarily important. We have the money. I think if it means buying another piece of property and spending the relocation money, I think that's money well spent. And I'm really not going to support putting this convenience center on that property up there where the old school building is. I think it's reasonable to think that reasonable people can come to some basic understanding. And I think we ought to see if we can't make a substantial effort to come to some agreeable terms with the Peachtree owners of the piece of property where we're sitting, and buy that piece of property and see if we can't make that happen.
Well, my opinion of that is we're strong-armed by them. They strong-armed us. When these folks right here didn't want the landfill garage out there, he exercised that 2 months option and he strong-armed us. I don't even want to deal with it. I don't even want that option out there because of that. You don't strong-arm us.
So you'd rather
I'd
put it over on?
I'd rather find somewhere else to put it, but I won't be strong-armed by somebody. So we have to spend $1 million to buy a building, and if we don't, then we
We're
lose
not
our.
gonna-
Then
we're
he
not-
strong-armed us, and I don't want to deal with that person.
Well,
And
let's
that's just
say
my
this.
opinion.
We
You
have to do what
strong-arm
we
us?
have to do sometimes.
Well, we gotta do something.
I agreed not to pursue the purchase of that whole piece of property, and I'm not proposing that.
Is that why they?
They have
Terminated?
they have a business model that's their property. They want to relocate from that location, and they're trying to determine what is the best means to do that. We have to respect that.
So, is there an option to buy the part that we're on?
They have said that they will discuss that with us. We're not sure we can come to a reasonable amount of money, but they are willing to discuss that. I think we need to explore that as
Agreed.
diligently as we possibly can.
Well, let's discuss it.
I'm
Go ahead, yeah.
going to do that. I can tell you what the price is, and I don't want you to approve a number. I just want
No,
you to
I think
endorse
that-
the concept of us entering into some serious discussion with them about that property, just that piece of property.
Well, I
which
move
would
that
be-
we endorse the concept.
Second.
And I
Got
guess
a
one of
motion?
the advantages would be that you would not have to pay the relocation fees if
Right.
you were able to
Correct.
purchase that
That's
property.
correct.
And you wouldn't have to teach everybody where the new location is.
And we wouldn't have to find a new location independent if we choose not to do this. We can't find another place out there. Listen, we've been looking for one for 2 or 3, and when we do find that place, we have to get the neighbors to agree that that's a reasonable place and it meets their conditions, you might say, of fitting in the right spot.
That site has been the most viable site out there in that community for as long as I can remember.
There's several years,
You know,
back to one
It's
of
a
our
wonderful
former
site.
commissioners.
The location couldn't be better.
yeah.
And we don't know if we'll be successful, but we need an opportunity to see if we can be.
How much are we paying per year for the lease?
$15,000.
This is the site that we already mentioned on.
This is the ball field site?
That's the ball field site.
Well, this might be the unpopular thing, moving it to the ball field site if that's an option. But the way I look at it is the Leanna community has a convenience center next to their ball fild site.
Playing ball. They don't play
That's all right. There's several,
Hold up, just listen.
Audience, you
there's,
got to respect the man on the floor. If you don't,
that ball field is also in shambles and it doesn't have the community like the Lascassas community that supports their ball field either. So if it was supported like that, it would be in a lot better shape for where the kids want to play for it. I wasn't finished. I understand this is unpopular, but there's also a lot of things you can do to landscape it right, put a real fence and not a chain link fence up. And you could make this a legitimate thing if there was no other options on the table. If Peachtree comes back and says $500,000, folks, I'm sorry, we can't justify that. We just converted a garbage truck to build a fire truck.
Well, we don't
We don't know that.
I understand that.
One
But what
at a
I'm getting
time.
at is, if it doesn't come back, what other options do we have? Unless somebody in the community is
You
willing
cross
to
that bridge,
donate.
we cross that bridge when it happens.
Well,
You know,
I appreciate Commissioner Young's opinion and everybody here. But in the meantime, the clock's ticking. Clock's ticking out that way. We're gonna be in a mess. And I was charged as a commissioner to look at other opportunities. I know I'm like Commissioner Young. Do I want to do this? No, I don't want to do it.
and what I was,
But I feel like I've got to do something because it's going to have a chain reaction. It's going to affect. It's affecting Lascassas right now. It's going to affect Walter Hill if we don't do something here right now.
But is this what you recommended, though, Judge?
No, I've said that's an option. I went down there. What I did, and I'll show you. Here is where the Lions Club and the Volunteer Fire Department
Right.
is. Here is right now, and I'm going to call on the attorney from Query here in just a second. Right here is right with the first interest, which you're familiar with it.
Right.
I'm sure you. this is where I'm proposing to put it, right off the side of here. If it, you know, if it,
What property is that?
that's county property. This is, right now, it's leased to the Lions Club.
Is that where all the
The
pavilions and all that
pavilion
stuff's
and the
at?
playground, yes, sir, yeah.
What I was gonna get at is the number one goal here is to make sure these folks have somewhere to take their trash in a reasonable location, period. Period. And if Peachtree is not an option and it falls through, we can't drag out 6, 8, 9 months for these folks. That's not fair to them. We gotta do something. And this is unpopular. I understand that, but if it's something we need to consider and keep it on the table and not just discount it. I understand it's unpopular, but it's safer for them folks to drive a block down the road to dump their trash than having to go down Jefferson Pike all the way to Walter Hill too.
In that respect for the commissioner in that area, I mean, I want to do what's right for the community out there. You know, Las Casas is basically second home to me because I've got family out there. And
matter of fact, I went to school, where
Right
the old
there.
school was.
Yeah.
But it's got a lot of memories of me, and I hate to have it in my legacy that I had to put a convenience center there.
Right.
But
That would be a bad legacy.
Excuse me.
That would be a bad legacy.
I would, you know, but you know, this is. I mean, we're laughing here, but this is a very delicate matter. But I'm.
Well, I got one point I want to bring up. Also, I was asked to have the attorney up here to explain the lease that we have at the present time with the Lions Club. So the attorney, I guess I'm going to turn it over to him.
Okay.
So he can give us an insight of what we're talking about there.
Thanks, I'll try. Commissioner Black contacted our office and was asking about the lease on this property on the Lions Club site, and more specifically whether or not the lease would allow the county to terminate the lease if you wanted to use it for some other purpose. We located what appears to us to be the operative lease right now. It was adopted in 1999. There's a resolution that goes along with it that leased a parcel of property to the Las Casas Milton Lions Club, dated September 16, 1999. It's a 50-year lease, but it does allow the county to terminate the lease upon 30 days written notice. So the answer to the question was yes, the county could theoretically terminate the lease if you so elected.
What's currently on that property as far as the Lions Club? Is there a building? I know, is there a playground out there? I believe there's a playground out there.
A chain link fence surrounds that.
So if this concept was to play out, not only would we have to move the convenience center, we'd need to relocate the playground somewhere else on the property and a walking trail and make it give whatever was in the community, make sure it's left in the community, maybe in I don't know if there's room or if it's a possibility, but whatever was out there, I think that if we do that, it needs to still be out there at our expense, which shouldn't be much because it'd be relocating playground equipment. And, I only think that would be fair if we went this route.
What's the community's thoughts on removing that playground? Do you know?
The Ball Field Association definitely against it. Ball
Not
fields.
only the ball field, the whole
Skip.
community.
Well,
Let him speak.
Not the whole community. 99% of it.
No. Audience, this is a committee meeting, and if I call on you to speak, you speak. If I don't call on you, I will have this room vacated, because you got to show respect to the ones sitting up here at this table. Now, we've suspended the rule, and if the committee want to hear from the audience, we'll suspend the rule to listen. But until that point, you got to be quiet. Thank you.
Commissioner Black, you suggested this was an option of last resort for you. I guess that suggests there's another option or two that would be preferable to you. Would you support us looking into buying the Peachtree property? Do you think that's a preferable option?
At a fair market. A fair market. And I stress that again, Commissioner Bond. A fair market price. Absolutely.
Would you be willing to let the mayor negotiate with
Hey, any help from the mayor, we definitely appreciate it, and
I would like to see this expedited because the clock is ticking. And what measures do we have? Did you work on something with the solid waste on something in the meantime?
Well, I apologize. Yes, I did, Commissioner Young. I charged our solid waste director to get permitted for temporary boxes to put somewhere to alleviate some of the pressure that's going, if this closes, until we find a solution here on this convenience center site. I charged him last month. I think we meet February the 2nd, and that's where I am on that as far as public works.
The time frame on this is that we're meeting tonight, which is property management. Public Works meet next week.
Yes, sir.
And this will have to go before next week. Only thing I can see that this committee can do to expedite matters is what the motion state, that let the mayor go ahead and negotiate.
Right.
And
so that's all we can do.
And Commissioner McAdoo's reason I'm here, I felt that it was a property management issue, and I'll handle it. I just wanted to make y'all aware of what was going on
aware of it.
at the public works meeting.
Any more discussion on the motion?
And the motion is to
Endorse the concept to purchase the Peachtree property, which is the current site of the convenience center.
and have the mayor negotiate.
The mayor most definitely will negotiate that.
That's fine.
And hopefully I have an answer by next week and take it to Public Works.
Can I just ask one question to the mayor? If time is running tight, and would they be willing, Peachtree, to do a month-to-month, or they just want us off by the 24th?
I don't know the answer to that, but we will have that discussion with them when we're talking about their willingness or if they choose to want to sell.
On the sign they erected out there, he said out. It says out. 24th, the 24th. These gates will be shut.
He put the sign up?
He didn't put that sign up. We put that sign up.
Well, I don't know who put it up.
I'd like to add an amendment to that motion to have the mayor also see if there's any way we can extend the lease in that same concept for an indefinite period of time to help us solve our problem if we can't afford to purchase it.
That's an amendment. Do I have a second to the amendment?
I can just put it in the motion.
Okay.
It's fine, made it in the motion.
Okay.
That's what he said that was.
We don't need the amendment.
Okay, well, that's fine. Make sure we can.
Commissioner agreed to put it as a part of his motion, and the second agreed to accept it. So, any more discussion?
Could I say something, please?
Not until I ask for the audience. I got to ask the committee first. We're discussing the motion and the second. Do the committee want to suspend the rule and hear from the audience before we vote on this motion, or?
I know this is not a public hearing, by no means, but I mean, I'd like to hear something. I mean, I'll make that motion, but I don't want to get into a free-for-all type deal, but I just want to hear some input.
Okay, we got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor of letting the audience speak on this motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now this is the way we're going to do it. You raise your hand, not 2, 3 people at one time. Just raise your hand, and you can speak to this committee. And if the committee members got any questions, you can feel free to ask the person that's speaking for an answer or whatever. I see the person standing in the back. State your name.
My name is Linda Wilson, and I live across the street from the proposed site. I would like to state some of the concerns that I have heard people say, one of which, of course, is a decrease in property values, of which we are concerned. But I think the major concern of the community is locating that center right at the ball field. The prevailing winds are from the southwest there, which would come right across the convenience center, right into the ball fields and the stands. I don't see how they could keep the odor down, and I think that would be a major concern. I think that would effectively kill that site as it's currently used. Also, the fire department has fish fry once a month there, and having it adjacent to the convenience center would be difficult, I would think, under those circumstances.
So you'd rather see us look at the existing site?
I think that the existing site is fine, and I think that, you know, we've had it there since, what, 82 or so? It is the ideal site. I think you won't have to worry about getting neighbors to agree to it and that sort of thing. And I think you're not going to save a lot of money by moving, because you've got to move it, and you know, if it's put there at the playground and public site there, it's going to cause a lot of disgruntlement. Thank you.
Okay, the gentleman with his hand.
My name is Robbie Robinson. I just currently bought a house in the Las Casas community, and that convenience center where it's at is the right spot it needs to be at. If you locate it over there where the ball fields are, most of our games are on Friday nights and Saturdays all day long. There is parking, cars on top of cars trying to get parking in there. There's people, there's little kids running around up and down, there's children everywhere. Now you're going to mix in people with their trash coming in and out of there. One of those little children gets run over. How much money does that cost? Okay, you're looking at spending $100,000 to move it over there. You're spending $15,000 where you're at right now. Okay, if you look at buying the property, you save that $100,000 that you would spend to move it over here, plus the $15,000. You'd have that property paid off. If you could get it for $300,000, you'd have it paid off in 5-6 years. I mean, the mathematics is there. Don't interrupt the children. Don't get our children hurt. And it's a bad place to put a convenience center, especially on a Saturday morning when everybody wants to take their trash to the dumpster and the children are out there playing ball. Thank you.
I'm going to recognize the gentleman back there by the door. State your name.
Yes, I'm Stanley Word, and I live out there in the area. I'm also the president of the school, elementary school PTO out there as well. I've also coached baseball out at those ball fields myself. But the thing that I am concerned with, and I actually called Mr. McNolan and talked to him about the same situation about a week ago before he went on vacation this week. And I talked to him and I asked him, I said, I just want to get an idea of where y'all were planning on. He says, we really haven't got a plan set for sure on setting it there. He said, we were looking at putting it in that lower area across from the lower ball field. But we can't put it there because of the septic tank lines running across there. We couldn't put anything on top of that. And he said, really, he says, I don't want to put it out there just because of the safety factor of having vehicles and trucks coming into that place when you got ball games and fish fries and everything else going on out there. He told me that the other thing too is you've got a school zone right there close to that area. You've got a church right across the road from it. You've got all this traffic concerns. It's all in that one single area right there that's going to be involved in where you're going to put this convenience center. So you've got a lot of factors that are factoring into this. The other thing you've got is you're setting yourself up with an attractive nuisance. by putting that convenience center there. Because you've also got a big community that live, subdivision right behind it that have kids that come over and play ball, they're not playing ball, but just playing over there at those ball fields and everything. So you create a contracted nuisance situation. It ends up being a liability situation. So you've got a lot of other factors that are involved in this by just putting a convenience center right here at this one location. That's got to be attended with. You know, you can move it there, but it's like someone else was just saying. I'd rather see $100,000 put towards trying to buy the property that it's on than trying to move all that down there to a situation where you could create a liability situation involved with it. Thank you.
The gentleman in the back, stand up
Yes,
and state
my
your
name's
name.
Danny Deal, and I'm for moving it down to the schoolhouse because we're not any better than the people at Walter Hill. At BFI, they have ball field on top of ball field on top of ball field, kids running down there everywhere, and all them big old garbage trucks running around. I don't think we're any better than them people. Now I know Chip, he's a good guy here. He'll probably let us rent that for a little bit, not like the guy was saying they're strong armors. He'll probably be easy to deal with. So maybe for a month or two we can see some way to Chip out the goodness of his heart to let us use the existing site. Don't y'all think?
Gentleman by the door, state your name.
Kristen Rather. I'm a public servant that works for the county, and to argue Mr. Deal's point, I appreciate him coming and taking time out, but the situation at Walter Hill is far different than what you are proposing at Las Casas. The situation at Walter Hill, those fields are a completely separate place. The trucks don't come in at the football fields and the baseball fields. We also have a very unique heritage on that roadside that belongs to the Brown family, if I'm not mistaken. We have a beautiful, almost a historic stone wall that I think has been tackled to have taken down a couple of times and has offended, some people. That land was, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll refer to Ms. Black, that land was donated to be used for the fire hall, Lions Club, Children's Park, and police station. And we kind of need to respect our heritage and things like that. So I also coach, and I told my parents that I would come and make a plea for y'all to think about putting our kids before our trash and making our kids more important than where we put our trash. So I appreciate your time.
Okay, the lady on the front.
Thank you. My name is Piper Barlow. My husband and I both have coached out at Las Casas for the last 5 years. We have a 7-year-old little girl that practices, plays, everything out there. And I just want to say something that she has been saying to me ever since we've talked about this. Trash is not healthy. Playing baseball is healthy for these kids. It gives them an outlet to be able to play, have fun, lose weight even, not get obese, so many different things besides just saving a couple of dollars. I have no problem having a little bit more money added to my tax value, my property value taxes, if that's what it takes to be able to keep my daughter playing in the Las Casas ball field. We have kids coming there, 300 plus kids every spring, summer, and fall playing at those fields. I'm sorry, I understand, yes, you can put landscaping, you can put fences, you can put all of that up there. But what it really comes down to is the smell and the safety. The smell, no matter what landscaping you put up, you're gonna smell it. No matter what safety hazards you try to keep from happening, it's gonna happen. You've got a school right in front of it. You've got a church right in front of it. You've got that playground where it's at right now. You have the ball fields back there. You have the fire hall, the Lions Club. You have all of that right there that children are at all the time. There is no way to keep our kids safe and to keep them healthy by putting the dump right there. Everybody says, some people were saying the other night, it's not a dump. It truly is. I truly do not want to tell my kids to turn next to the dump to come to the baseball field. That's just not something that I want to tell anybody. We have tournaments out there that people all throughout the county and surrounding counties come to play tournaments. They're not going to want to come to us if our land stinks or that it's not safe for their children. Thank you.
Back in the corner, I recognize her. She had her hand up first.
Lisa Deal. Can I ask Mr. Black a question? The site that's being proposed, everybody's talking about the trucks running up and down and the safety of the children. The site that's actually being proposed, wouldn't it be accessed right off of 96?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, we wouldn't have trucks running near the ball field or anything like that. It would just be in and out right off of 96 with
ma'am.
fence completely around.
Absolutely.
And when it's closed, the chain link is closed, there's, you know, wire at the top, whatever, the barbed wire to keep
Yes,
people
ma'am.
out, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, as far as the smell is concerned, I know we've addressed the issue of safety as far as Walter Hill and the ball fields are far separate. But we know the smell travels there. And nobody has a problem, it seems like. I mean, you can smell it halfway down Jefferson Pike certain times of the year. And I just have one more question. When the ball games are going on, is that during the hottest part of the year? I don't know, we don't play ball.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, well, that's fine. We might have to deal with a little smell. But as far as the safety issue, I just want to stress, if it's going to be coming just access right off of 96, I don't think that's going to be a safety issue as far as the kids are concerned.
Later, state your name.
My name's Melinda Black. My ancestors are the ones that gave that land to the school. And when Nancy Allen was mayor, we had a deal with her that when it quit being a school, that it would go to the fire department, an ambulance service, the police station, the Lions Club, and for the kids to play ball. Now, I know that this community wants a place to put their garbage, and I think Tip here would be reasonable about doing it. If it's gonna cost $100,000 to put it at that place, I mean, I'm not for putting it at that place. And I don't think that my ancestors would have been either. Thank you.
Gentleman on the front here.
Yeah, I'm Lloyd Field. I live about 2 miles down the road from the current convenience center, and I'm a bit opinionated. At first, before I went to a meeting Tuesday night to hear about this, I was sort of in favor of relocating it to county property, but when I heard the concerns and appearance of children and ball players, etc., I kind of sided with their thoughts. So another couple of opinions I have. One is of Peachtree Landscape. They are holding us for ransom. They're asking an unreasonable amount of money for, I understand, a half acre of land. Is that correct, Jack? About a half acre?
Yes, sir.
And we've heard the figure of $300,000. Where in 6, 8, 10 miles are you going to find property that's worth anywhere near that amount of money? So they don't justify that kind of a sale. But if it can be negotiated, I'd be for that. There was a suggestion the other night, and it came up here slightly by Jack, but possibly eminent domain, and then let it go to the courts whereby a fair price could be negotiated for it. I don't know if that's possible, but I would suggest, my opinion is something worth pursuing. And thirdly, I think I understood a gentleman that bought property down the road about a half a mile or less at auction here a month or so ago, had mentioned that he has a place that would work for a convenience center, and he wouldn't object to it being there. I have no idea what he wanted for his property. He might have talked to Jack about it, so I would just defer that point to Jack. And thirdly, or lastly, a suggestion that came out of that meeting was that perhaps some kind of a local task force to bring out ideas to present to you all or the sewer department or whatever on possible options, and if it could be done within a month. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman in the back.
I'm Wayne Wood. I'm president of the Las Casas ball fields. Just the ball fields besides, you're talking about a separate interest coming in there, that's fine. But you got a drive here for the ball field, and you're gonna have a drive here for coming into the convenience center as it's proposed. You're gonna have tons of traffic, and you're gonna back up. And somebody hasn't mentioned, but there's 3 houses across the street, there is a church. As far as BFI fields are not owned by the county, they're owned by BFI. They are also leased to a kind of a private individual that has a travel softball team that takes care of those softball fields. So he's kind of regulated. They don't have the ball teams there that we do. He's kind of got a privileged little deal there. And if anybody's been there, and I've been there, it does smell. They got a big pipe around that's pouring out some kind of mist just trying to keep down the smell. But it's a whole different situation. They don't have 200 kids playing there. And you're going to have that. And also, I mean, you're talking about safety kids, but maybe the trucks ain't going to be running by there. But you're going to have trucks, you're going to have cars, all in 100-foot space, 200-foot space, trying to get into one spot at one time. And as president and my parents stepping up, it's my right to step up too. But I just, whatever can be negotiated, if there's other property that can be bought, there was some people at the meeting the other day said he got online in 5 minutes he found property. So I mean, I'm not saying if we can negotiate with Peachtree, I think that's the best interest of this. It's going to cost $100,000 to move it down, so that's $100,000 that you take off if you buy a little bit more. And I will say, Mr. Jack, he took a little beating the other night. I'd have to say right now, I respect Mr. Jack. We built a new ball field, and they was turning down the lights at the old Fort Park. Mr. Jack got them acquired for us, so we didn't have to buy them. So I would, you know, some people attacked him. He did support us, and I don't want people to think that he hadn't supported us out there. But we're kind of against this idea, and we had differences. But I do like to say right now in front of everybody that I do have respect for Mr. Jack, and no hard feelings towards him, because I do respect what he's done for the ball field.
Appreciate that.
The gentleman in the blue standing up.
My name is Wayne Upchurch, and I live out now in Las Casas, and basically it seems like out there, good folks in Las Casas, we're stuck between a rock and a hard case. You know, we got 2 options. Seems like we lose the ball field, or we get to shell out a bunch of money. Doesn't seem right. Option 3 that several people keep throwing out is to find a piece of property. We can get a piece of property out there. We don't have to go either one of those routes. Nobody seems to want either one. I agree with Commissioner Young. I agree with everything I've heard here tonight. Why don't we go look somewhere else? Seems to be the best deal.
I think you spoke once.
Yeah, I was saying he was there just saying.
No.
And I want to tell the audience, this isn't my first option either, moving this to the ball fields. It is a option. I want to be clear with y'all because I don't want y'all mad at me. It is a option. My first option is the Peachtree site. But again, I will not get strong-armed up here on this commission and waste your taxpayer dollars, because I can't just think about y'all, even though it's Commissioner Black's district. We each have constituents we have to think about and their property taxes. We have to be held accountable to our constituents as well. We have to do what's in the best interest for the county, but I do want to do what's in the best interest for the Las Casas community. I really like this gentleman's idea of the community coming together and finding options for us. Y'all are out there. Y'all are in the community. You really know if this piece of property, if y'all come together and find a piece of property, if it's not even worth discussing because of other issues, but y'all see that. We don't. We're not out there every day. And I really like that idea. If y'all can help us find a solution, if the mayor can't negotiate a good price, that's going to help us out a lot. You know, we're only as good as our constituents are to help us. And I just wanted to say that so y'all realize where I stand. This isn't what I want to do, but I want to make sure y'all have trash collection point somewhere in a reasonable location that's easy to access and not have to drive to Walter Hill, because that's not fair to y'all. But that's my spill on it, and I just wanted to get that off my chest and let y'all know where I stood. So,
anyone else from the audience? Gentlemen.
Commissioner Young, I appreciate.
State your name.
Lou Cook. I am in the Lions Club out there, and there's 2 or 3 points I'd like to make. Number 1 is nobody has measured that property. It is long enough for the convenience center. It is not wide enough. You can't turn a car around in what is fenced there. So if they come in there, they're either gonna have to go back there and take that first ball field or they're gonna have to go over and close, or practically close the driveway that goes back to the ball field. I also appreciate your offer or suggestion that if y'all take it, y'all relocate the playground and track and all that the Lions Club has put in over the years, along with the community, the fire department, and everybody else. But there is no other place on that property to put it. And on parking, people park in front of that. That driveway is gonna be less than 100 feet from the other driveway. And particularly on the days when I'm also in the fire department, when you have the fish fry, we had last month, at the last fish fry, we had 500 people out there. We had cars parked clear back on the back, in front of the back ball fields. So if we lose any parking spaces, you're gonna hurt the fire department, you're gonna hurt the ball clubs, you're gonna hurt the Lions Club. We have spent in excess of $20,000 on that playground. And I would ask you, gentlemen, to really consider, before you take that property, first look to see, and I think I'm right, I don't think you drive a car in there and make a circle. I don't think you can use that property without taking more. I think you would at least have to take that first ball field. And I thank you.
Gentlemen,
Randy Jordan, that, if they put that convenience center there, it'll take that rock fence out that's been there since the 1900s. It's gonna bring a lot of talk to a lot of people that went to school out there, live in that community.
any other people from the audience? The gentleman?
My name's Brad Rails. I live on Canesville Pike, and I'm absolutely not for buying Peachtree property unless we can get it for the $100,000. I think that's throwing money away. I feel like we've been totally strong-armed on this, and I feel like we're just standing back and taking it. I mean, within reason, even just a little bit of an increase over the $100,000 maybe, but more than that, it's just ridiculous to spend the amount of money that they're asking, or the amount that has been thrown at us. I think the number was $350 at one point for 1 acre, when the property across the street of 6 acres was only $200,000 across the street. So how can you equate that much land for $200,000 and an acre for $300,000? And that's really all I have to say.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Farley.
I've heard 350,000. I mean, where's this number come from?
We're not in a position to negotiate a price here on the public venue.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying.
You asking the audience?
Where's
on the first community meeting we had, I think the owners was there, and it was several there that was in attendance. I think that's where it come from one of the owners, that somebody suggested that about just buying that particular, well, that was, and he said yes, he would sell it for that number, Mr.
I heard that number thrown out tonight. I didn't know where it come from.
It was mentioned.
Any more discussion from the audience?
Roger Moses. Jack, didn't a fella give you some papers on land around there that he had gotten off the internet that was available? And
he did. He absolutely did. And like I said, I'm sure the mayor, if this can't be worked out with Peachtree, I'm sure he'll have that available to him. And again, I'd like to just say this one, and then I'll be done. When Peachtree come out there and wanted to locate their business there, they had access to this convenience center. The good folks out there relied upon mine, and I presented it to the commission to give them this permit for their business. I didn't get a call, nobody saying nothing about it after I explained that they was I've done background on them, they was a legitimate company, and I took their word. And they was no opposition to them locating out there. But I just wanted to point that out. I'm done.
The gentleman in the back standing up, I don't think he spoke.
I have not. My name's Jason Agee. I live in the community, and I was at the meeting Tuesday night. Commissioner Young, you've mentioned it a couple of times about being strong-armed by Peachtree. Y'all have got to let this notion go. Our problem at hand is our community is losing a convenience center. Our best solution is to ask y'all to go forth and open negotiations with the gentleman that owns the property. That's all we ask. Open negotiations, see if we can reach a fair price. If you can open negotiations with him, maybe he will be kind enough to allow us to keep using the center as long as we are negotiating that property. A letter of intent, if you will, to negotiate something with him. Maybe that will extend us, because the best solution is for us not to lose any service whatsoever. Uninterrupted service. You've heard nobody wants it at the ballpark. We'll just throw that out and just say the best option for y'all to pursue is to sign a letter of intent and open negotiations for that particular piece of property. That's all we ask. Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience would like to speak? Anybody from the committee? Call for a question.
Ben, we've heard from the public out there right tonight. I call for the question and we vote on the motion that's on the floor.
Question been called for. Got a second?
Second.
Do the committee want to hear the motion again?
Yes, please.
Endorse the concept to purchase the Peachtree property where the convenience center is currently located with the mayor to negotiate, and also to see if he can extend the lease for an indefinite period of time.
Any discussion on the motion that you heard read? If not, call for a vote. Yep.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Cook?
Yes.
Commissioner Farley?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Commissioner Young?
Yes.
Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. Okay, so we have given the mayor the authority to go out and negotiate, and hopefully it will not have to come back to this committee, because we got a time frame of February the 24th, and Public Works meet next week, and I just don't see us making that time frame if we have to bring it back to property management, unless the committee suggests otherwise.
I got confidence in the mayor, and I think that he will do well.
I'm hoping this works out, and if not, and if we don't feel like it, we have an option at the full commission meeting. But time is of the essence, so it needs to move forward, so it doesn't need to come back to us.
I agree 100%. The mayor, he's always been a good negotiator out there, I tell you. He's come back with some deals I thought that was impossible. He managed to make it happen.
So, I surely hope so.
Yeah. So, any other discussion, any other business come before this committee tonight? Not.
I'd just like to say thank you for listening to our concerns.
Also, I would like to thank the audience for showing up tonight, and that's the only way we get our answers.
Thank you for
That you
letting
show
us
up.
in.
Any other business? I entertain a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Thank you.